The HOA treasurer's death was ruled an accident, a tragic fall, they said, but when I checked the security footage from that night,
And the last person
every
seen
single
arguing
file
with
was
her was
gone,
the HOA
deleted,
president, Linda,
wiped,
the same
clean,
woman who
and
swore
the
she'd
last person
fix our
seen
community, no
arguing
matter
with
the
her
cost.
was the HOA president, the same woman who swore she'd fix our community, no matter the cost. What was she trying to hide? And how far would she go to protect her perfect neighborhood? Our neighborhood was the kind of place people dreamed of retiring in. Trimmed lawns, quiet evenings, and an HOA that promised order and peace. That at first, it worked. Everyone followed the rules. And the treasurer, Mrs. Dalton, kept the finances spotless. She was strict but fair, the kind of woman who made sure every cent was accounted. For that, I moved here thinking I'd finally found stability. After years of moving around, the community felt safe, even proud. But beneath the manicured lawns and friendly smiles, something always felt rehearsed. The HOA meetings were polite but tense, the kind of polite that hides what people really think. The president, Linda Marks, ran every meeting like a courtroom. Her word wasn't a suggestion, it was law. Mrs. Dalton, though, wasn't like that. She had a quiet strength, the kind that came from doing what was right, even when it was unpopular. And when she started questioning the HOA's unexplained expenses, tension began to ripple through the board. She didn't accuse anyone outright. She just asked for clarity, receipts, reports, and numbers that didn't quite match. And from that moment, she became a problem. Linda dismissed her concerns publicly, but her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. The next day, new rules appeared, small things, but targeted. Budget access was restricted. File audits required approval. No one said it out loud, but we all knew. They were isolating her. Still, Mrs. Dalton didn't back down. She believed in transparency and accountability. And maybe that's what made her dangerous. We thought it was just another HOA disagreement until the night the cameras went dark and Mrs. Dalton never came home. After Mrs. Dalton's quiet warnings about missing funds, the HOA meetings changed, smiles faded. Conversations stopped when she entered the room. Then, one morning, a new rule appeared in our inboxes. All residents must obtain HOA approval before accessing community maintenance records. It didn't need to mention her name. Everyone knew who it was for. Mrs. Dalton started keeping her own records, copies of budgets, handwritten notes, and emails printed and dated. She spent late nights at the clubhouse, combing through files no one else cared to see. One evening, I saw her walking home. She carried a folder close to her chest and glanced over her shoulder twice before reaching her porch. I asked if she was okay. She smiled, but her eyes said no. A week later, she called an emergency meeting. Only a handful of us showed up, the ones who still believed something wasn't right. She said she'd found proof, something big, something that could expose Linda and her circle. But before she could show us, the power went out. The room went black, and when the lights came back, she was gone. The next morning, her house was surrounded by police. Tape. They said she'd fallen from her attic ladder day. Tragic accident. Case closed. But none of us believed that, because that same night, the night she fell, the HOA server was wiped. Clean. Every security camera file. Every backup. Gone. Linda claimed it was a technical glitch. But when I checked the system logs, the deletion wasn't random. Someone had logged in and manually purged the data using Linda's personal credentials. I confronted her. She smiled, calm as ever, and said, "Be careful with accusations. This community doesn't tolerate drama." That's when I knew Mrs. Dalton hadn't just found corruption, she'd found something worth killing. Over, and I wasn't about to let them bury her twice. I did what she started. I dug deeper. Old invoices, double payments, contractor names that didn't exist, all funneled through HOA funds. With Linda's signature on every one. The deeper I went, the more dangerous it got. Neighbors who used to wave started avoiding me. My mailbox was vandalized. Someone left a note under my door. Stop digging. Accidents happen. But I couldn't stop. Because now it wasn't just about money. It was about truth and the woman who died trying to expose it. Every discovery pulled me closer to something that felt bigger than an HOA. And then I found it a hidden folder on the old server, password protected, buried deep in archive files. When I cracked it open, there it was, a backup of the deleted footage, the night Mrs. Dalton died. The HOA president thought she'd buried everything. The treasurer, the evidence, even the truth. But she didn't count on one thing. The backup server the next HOA meeting. She stood at the front, pretending nothing was wrong. The same smile, the same fake order. I sat in the back, laptop ready, my hands trembling. When the discussion turned to moving on from recent tragedies, I connected my laptop to the projector and pressed play. The footage appeared, grainy and shaky but real. Mrs. Dalton in the clubhouse, arguing with Linda. The sound was muffled, but the body language said everything. Mrs. Dalton pointing at papers. Linda is shouting. Then Linda grabbed her arm. The camera tilted. Chaos. A fall. A scream. Silence. The room froze. Neighbors gasped. Some stood. Others cried. Linda's husband yelled for me to stop it. But it was too late. The truth was out. Linda tried to talk her way out of it, claiming it was an accident. But the timestamp told a different story. The footage had been deleted from her account less than 10 minutes after the fall. The IT wasn't a glitch. It was a cover-up. The meeting erupted into chaos. People shouted and demanded answers. Board members resigned right then and there. Someone called the police, and Linda, the woman who once ruled this neighborhood, just sat there, silent, staring at the floor. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow, because in that moment, I realized something chilling. Mrs. Dalton died trying to protect a community that never deserved her, and justice would never bring her back. The following weeks felt unreal. News vans lined the streets. Neighbors whispered in driveways. And the HOA sign that once stood proudly at the gate now looked like a gravestone. Linda Marks was arrested, charged with manslaughter and tampering with evidence. The HOA collapsed. Overnight, members fled, resigning in shame. The community pool shut down. The lawns grew wild. The illusion of perfection shattered, and in its place was silence. For months, people avoided each other. The air was thick with guilt and disbelief. Everyone wanted to move on, but no one could forget the woman who'd kept their world running, and the neighbor who took her away. Then, one day, I received a plain envelope. No return address. Inside were copies of documents Mrs. Dalton had gathered, receipts, records, and meeting notes. The bottom. One final line, written in her handwriting. Thank you for not letting them erase me. I don't know how she managed to send it. Maybe she mailed it before that night, but it felt like a message. One last piece of unfinished business. Months passed. The world moved on, as it always does, but Maple Ridge never healed. Houses went unsold. Yards overgrew. The pride we once had vanished. Some said the place was cursed. Others said it got what it deserved, and maybe both were true, because we all played a part. Looking away, laughing off the rules, pretending that's just HOA business. But corruption thrives in silence, and silences. Something this neighborhood had perfected. A year later, I drove past the old clubhouse. A few residents were there, repainting the HOA sign. They painted over Maple Ridge Homeowners Association, and in bold new letters, they wrote, "The Dalton Community, where every voice counts." For the first time in a long while, I smiled that IT wasn't revenge anymore. IT was redemption. But even now, I can't shake the feeling that some things never really end. The security camera facing Mrs. Dalton's house never came back online. Every other feed works fine, but that one is always static. Maybe that's how it's meant to be. A reminder that truth, once revealed, never really dies. It just echoes. 6 months later, Linda was convicted. The judge said something that stayed with me. Power without accountability is just corruption waiting for applause. Those words haunt me because they don't just apply to her, they apply to all of us. Now, every time I pass the old clubhouse, I whisper a promise to the quiet air. We didn't let them erase you, because in the end, this wasn't just about one woman's death. That it was about what happens when power goes unchecked, when silence becomes safety, and when good people stop asking questions. The HOA thought deleting the footage would erase their crime, but it only proved one thing. You can hide the truth, but you can't silence it forever.